Hi everyone, Drini here, and welcome to my channel. So we're going to take a look at Splinterlands today, in particular the SPS token, because the airdrops have finally ended. So now that we've experienced a couple of days after the airdrops have ended, this is actually a very good time to really establish what the price structure of SPS is, what scenarios are at play moving forward, and I also need to review some of the things that I said the last time we covered SPS back in June 3. So let's dive into the charts just to see what I'm talking about. So what I have here is I have the chart of SPS on a weekly time frame, and if you notice, one of the things that's very hard to fathom about the SPS price action is it has a very irregular structure. For example, when we look at something like Illuvium right here, so let me hide the charts for now. So when we look at the price action of Illuvium, it is very clear that it is undergoing specific linear waves in a 5-wave Elliott wave structure. Wave 1 right here, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and eventually a wave 5. Even Bitcoin is actually exhibiting this particular predictable structure, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and eventually, hopefully, we have a wave 5 so we can accumulate as much as we can before the subsequent continuation to the upside. For SPS, if you notice, it is very weird. Is this a relief rally? Is this whole flat structure just a wave 2? Or is this a wave 3? So it's very hard to surmise the SPS structure, partially driven, of course, by the SPS airdrops. The SPS airdrops really threw a wrench here because on one hand, you had a massive inflation of the token being given decentralized way to the players who are holding assets, and on the other hand, it's also being traded in the market. So you have a combination of a lot of factors that really influence this very irregular price structure. Now, before we continue with the price action, let's have a recap of what I said the last time. The other thing to note about SPS is over this recent history in 2022, what tends to happen for SPS is it will wick because of a major capitulation candle to the downside. So for example, this particular capitulation brought us all the way down to around 9 cents. You had a relief rally, but we eventually close on this initial wick, and that becomes the new floor. Just this happened when SPS was around 10 cents. Where did we eventually close? We eventually closed at around 10 cents 2 months after. And we actually saw that again. So if you notice right here, we wicked all the way down to around 8 cents. And roughly 2 months after a certain relief rally, but eventually we just slowly capitulated once again, look at where the established floors are now placed over the past 3 weeks. We eventually settled in to where the wick happened. And right now, what happened during this May capitulation right here, SPS fell all the way down to around 6 cents. So the next downside targets that we will actually aim for is this particular level right here. And there you go. So one of the key attributes that SPS is currently doing is every time we wick to a new low, we have a relief, and then eventually we settle on that as the new floor. We wick, we settle on a new floor, we wick, we settled on a new floor, and right now, what is happening with SPS? We have once again wicked this time to this particular price level of around 3 cents, and right now we are currently rallying, but any particular weakness in the market, you now have a new price structure or a new floor that we can establish moving forward, which is going to be this 3-cent range. That is assuming, of course, that the markets continue to be weak, and it doesn't have to happen overnight. So one thing that you notice right here, this particular new floor establishment took around close to 2 months to establish. This particular floor, for example, also took around 2 months to establish, or around a month and a half. This particular floor right here took slightly shorter. This one, we don't know when it's going to happen. But the key thing to note here is we do really have to be patient and wait for the markets to play themselves out. So apart from this particular wick right here, one of the things that we need to note about SPS is what structure are we really adhering to here? Because if it's an irregular shape from an Elliott wave standpoint, is there anything else that can sort of guide us so that we know where we're potentially going? So the answer to that, of course, is yes. Even though SPS is currently undergoing an irregular shape from an Elliott wave structure, it still makes sense from a Fibonacci retracement structure. So if we take this particular weekly close right here as the 1 and the weekly close right here and the all-time high as the 0, what we have here is we have an Elliott wave structure to the downside that is roughly adhering to key Fibonacci levels. The first thing to take note, of course, is this particular wave right here, this particular relief was between the chasm of the 786 and the 1. we were actually battling a lot in this one level right here. So this was our floor for the longest time. But if you notice, when we finally fell, we fell through the 1.272. So this is when we started exploring this particular chasm, highlighted by this close right here that started at around the beginning of June. This particular price movement right here was an attempt at establishing lower baseline. So for example, the 1.414 and the 1.272, this chasm right here is currently where the price exploration was happening. And one thing to note is this particular wick right here wicked to the 1.618 of around the 3 cents. So regardless of its irregular shape, one thing that we can still rely on, of course, is Fibonacci. And the reason for us being able to rely on Fibonacci is pretty simple. When we have a price discovery to the downside or upside, markets typically follow Fibonacci structure. It's sort of become like this self-fulfilling prophecy because there's nothing to refer to, so everyone just uses Fibonacci retracement, so then market structure follows Fibonacci retracement. So given the irregular shape, we can still map out some structures moving forward. So if we adhere to a 5-wave Elliott wave structure, it will look something like this. You have a very long impulsive wave 1 right here, a very flat wave 2. Then you have this particular structure as a wave 3. We may have a sharp wave 4. So for example, from here all the way, let's say to the 1.272, we may have continued a relief rally right here, something like this. But eventually we will settle on a final destination either on the 1.618 or the 2 right here, which is around the 1.5 cent range right here. So this is just something to note. If we fall all the way till here, or if the markets really have a capitulation moment, then do expect that we can achieve like the 2.272 structure right here of around 0.009. Then expect, of course, that at this price range right here, this is the accumulation range of a lifetime. If you believe in SPS as a project, the moment it hits these particular price levels, the moment it explores this particular chasm right here, this definitely could be the start of your DCA. So for example, from this 1618 all the way to this 2.272, for example, this is a massive DCA zone right here personally. So I'm just waiting for this particular structure to happen, waiting for this relief rally to end before starting off a new course in terms of SPS accumulation. But again, everything I say here, not financial advice. Yo, before you go, like this video, subscribe, and share this video to your friends. Thank you very much and have a good day.